Afternoon, folks. I hope all is going well wherever you are. It is the first of two Hobby Nightmares this week. We have a very busy week when it comes to 40k Rantage this week because Games Workshop have raised their prices and done all sorts of other silly nonsense, which we're going to get into as the week goes on. And I think we've got a Grimdark Therapy coming up this week as well, so that's going to be absolutely awesome. Let's start off with our first Hobby Nightmare of today, and it is from M. How's it going, dude? He says, Dear Northern Exile, if you read this off, you can just refer to me as M. First off, I'd like to say I have really been enjoying your videos. I only recently discovered your channel, but I've been listening to a lot of your content. Thank you very much, my friend. So with that said, enjoy a sip of tea and prepare for my Hobby Nightmare. I've got a few, but this one stands out in my mind. It is pretty mild overall, but I'll never forget it. Well, it's not mild. If you've never forgotten it, dude, it can't be that mild. I'll start with a little information about myself to try and help you understand why the scenario may have bothered me so much. Okay, that's fine. Context is always good. Throughout my life, I've struggled with mental health issues, receiving a range of treatments from things as simple as medication and therapy to things as extreme as electroconvulsive therapy. I could go down a rabbit hole on this subject alone, but to put it very simply, I have a very extreme cases of anxiety and have a difficult time leaving my own house. Some of the stand-up memories from my childhood are my experiences with Warhammer. It took me a while to discover who I was as an individual, having moved 3 times as a kid. I became a bit of a chameleon and learned to blend in and make acquaintances. As an adult, I finally accepted that at heart, I'm a bit of a nerd. I expect there are a lot of nerds who have had similar upbringings. So I didn't move schools, but I was just as at home with the cool kids as I was with the nerds. But I was a very nerdy person, you know, my best friends were all nerds. And yeah, it was just a cool time, really. Like I could kind of blend in and do what I wanted to do. And my grandpa at the time would say, yeah, if you ever... anybody ever has a go at you, then make sure you know in school that 2 completely separate types of people like you. So you can't be that bad. You know, it kind of stuck with me. Anyway, moving on. But as a young kid, I sort of dressed like a skater kid or a punk. I learned to blend in with the first kids I came across after moving. Keep this in mind as my attire will be relevant later. So, I'd occasionally visit the Games Workshop at the mall with my mum. At some point, I had finally gotten some models. A Warhammer Fantasy Empire General on a Griffin, and a box of Spearmen. I thought they were the coolest thing in the world. I built and painted my Spearmen. I couldn't get the wings on the metal Griffin, but I'd be damned if I didn't try with mounds of superglue. I painted my unpainted minis... I painted my unprimed minis and was overjoyed. I even found some old static grass from my dad's old train sets and based my first minis. That's when I asked the Games Workshop manager if he'd teach me how to play the game. I remember he wore a red shirt and had a goatee, but beyond that, I don't remember his name, nor is it really relevant to the story. This is coming up on being almost 20 years ago. So I asked him if he could teach me a game, and he said that he would, of course, but that I needed a general to lead my spearmen. I told him I had my lord on a griffin, but he told me that a lord on a griffin would not join such a small battle with only spearmen, that I would need to get a smaller HQ unit in order to play. He then told me that if I wanted to play with my griffin, I would need a much larger army, and so that next Christmas I got Empire models from my entire family. I will say, he did a great job of guiding my family members to buying the correct army for me. Of course he did. That was his tactic all along, dude. He wasn't bothered about teaching you the game. He wanted you to buy more models. That is quite simply where we are, right? He wanted you to buy more models. This was a really nasty thing to do to a kid. There is no reason why you can't just play a small intro game with a lord on a griffin and some spearmen, right? You should be able to go to your cabinet and get out some bowmen to add to this kid's army, to make it like a small army, and then fight on the tabletop and let him know how the game works. That's your job. There's nothing that irks me more than lazy Games Workshop staffers who just... Because an adult wouldn't stand for this most of the time. An adult will go, what? No, dude, are you going to teach me or not? Like, you know what I mean? The fact that they say this to kids, and it still happens now. Of course it does, right? It still happens now. You walk in with, you know, there will be certain staffers where you walk in with a lord on a griffin and some spearmen, and they will refuse to allow you to learn how to play. It'll be buy more models. What have you done for me lately? Buy more models. Do you know what I mean? This guy was trying to get you to buy more models, dude. He didn't care about you or teaching you the hobby. I'm willing to bet he doesn't teach you. I'm willing to bet. Let's just move on, shall we? I'm willing to bet that he doesn't even bother teaching you after all of that. I built and painted a massive Empire army, but never actually managed to play a game. There it is. There it is. I tried getting a friend into the hobby to be my opponent, but I couldn't find anyone to stick with it. Okay, mate, you shouldn't need to find anybody. The Games Workshop staffer has gotten you to buy all of this stuff for the game. It's now on him. It's his job to teach you how to use the products he's sold to you. That's part of his job. Okay? You're a kid. Sometimes you've got to rely on the staffers to help you out. And I'm on the side of the staffers, by the way. You know I am. But this has not been handled well. Anyway. When I went into the store, the manager was the only person I could ask about games. And I think he might have taught me a few things. I don't want to really throw the guy under the bus, but my point is, I never actually found an opponent. None of my friends were interested in Warhammer, and I visited the store less and less as time went on. I wish I'd put in more initiative to find opponents, but alas, this is where we are. This is not your fault. This is not your fault. This is the manager's fault. This has got nothing to do with you, mate. You're a child. You're a child. It's got absolutely nothing to do with you. Alright? He sold you these models. He's taught you how to do a few things. That's not his place, is to sit you down, take you over your army book, build you a list, and teach you the game. Especially back then, that's his job. Okay? Your kid friends, they might not want to be into Warhammer. That's not their job. Maybe they're just not into it. They don't have to be into it. Alright? This guy's the problem. Anyway. My story with this manager is not over, however. The thing that he did to me has stood out in my mind ever since. Is that one day, I brought in one of my buddies to the store, and we were looking at models. My friend decided to try Beastmen, so he got a box of units to paint. Awesome. I was wearing a The Who band t-shirt. The Games Workshop manager came up to us and started to quiz me about The Who. He asked, "So, you like The Who?" And I replied, "Oh yeah, they're great." He then asked, "Well, what's your favourite song then?" I can tell where this is going. I replied, "Well, I don't really know them off the top of my head. My sister burned me a CD, and I listened to it all the time." He then proceeded to start singing Behind Blue Eyes, and questioning if I knew what he was singing, and I said, "Oh yeah, I like that one." He then practically scolded me and told me that I should get an iPod and go to the Apple store and buy the songs for 99 cents a piece rather than getting burnt CDs from my sister, as that's thievery. This all went over my head. I didn't understand the concept of pirating music or anything of that nature. I believe I was only 12 years old at the time. Okay, this guy is a massive piece of shit. I don't know how you guys feel about those people who are into metal music. Like, oh, you're wearing that t-shirt, name 5 songs. Mate, you're into a band, alright? You're not part of a motorcycle gang. Okay? My 5 songs are, well, I only have one. It's called Talk to Me That Way Again, I'll Slap You So Hard that you end up back in the time when the band was actually playing live, right? That kind of thing. Like, I can't stand them. Okay? Mainly because I like Warhammer. I have to put up with people coming into Warhammer who may not have the best intentions. And I'm told, don't you dare gatekeep. Okay? And to be honest with you, I don't really. You know, if you like Warhammer, if you kind of like Warhammer, but you don't know anything about it, do you know what I do? I celebrate you, dude, and I ask you what you want to know about it, and then I tell you about it, right? That's what I do. Or I play a game with you, or show you some YouTube videos about the thing that you like. I invite you in. Metalheads and rock fans in general are some of the only people on planet Earth who, if they find out you're into the same thing they are, they will hold an inquisition. Right? And they're not trying to keep you out of liking the thing they're liking. They're not gatekeeping. For anybody goes there, they're not doing that. They're trying to show their superiority over you. That's a different thing. If they were saying, like, name a few bands, no, name a few songs because, you know, if you're not actually into it, then you're in here for the wrong reasons, that kind of a thing. No one's trying to, like, so let's say somebody's into old school AC/DC, right? A new fan of old school AC/DC isn't going to come in and try and change AC/DC. It's done. It's there. It's never going to change, right? And you like it or you don't, right? Somebody coming into Warhammer could literally try and change Warhammer. They could, right? If there's enough of them, they could. So what they're doing in rock music is they're not gatekeeping. They're just trying to act superior, and they're trying to be dicks. You know? What I'm saying is, Warhammer fans have the right to gatekeep, right? Because people will and have tried to change their hobby from underneath their own feet before. We do hold you to standards, but if you want to be here, my God, will we take you under our wing and show you the ropes, right? You will give your not iPods, you got me thinking now. We'll show you YouTube videos, we'll show you books, we'll talk to you about lore, right? Show you a few memes if you're into that kind of stuff. I'm not, but you might be. We'll get you in there, no problem at all. Because more the merrier, man. The more the merrier. As long as you're here to like Warhammer, you're welcome, right? As it is. That's not the same attitude of name me 5 songs from this band, or you're not a real fan like me. You know, that's not gatekeeping. That's just the guy being a superior dick and looking down his nose at you. And he's not superior. He just happens to know a bit more about a band than you do. Idiotic. Anyway. What did stick in my head was how uncomfortable and how on the spot I felt. After that day, I would never wear a t-shirt with a graphic on it outside of the house unless I had encyclopedic knowledge of what I was wearing, out of fear of somebody questioning me. I also didn't return to Games Workshop for many years after that, slowly drifting away from the hobby, which lasted for many years. I know this all sounds ridiculous, and that is because, well, it is. A lot of my problems are irrational. In hindsight, I think the Games Workshop manager didn't like how my friend and I were dressed. We didn't fit the typical mould of what you'd expect a Warhammer nerd to look like. As someone that hopped around friends groups, I actually noticed this with the skater kids. They were often targeted by adults unfairly, but a lot of them were assholes, so it's hard to say what was right. Kids will be kids, I suppose, but I advise any people, don't judge books by their covers. Anyways, I have a few more hobby nightmares that are probably more entertaining, but I hope you and your listeners got something out of this story. The current state of Games Workshop makes me sad, but at heart, I am a Warhammer nerd. I love painting models, pushing them around the table, and rolling dice with my friends. Cheers. Alright. So, yeah, it just shows you how seemingly fragile, and it's going to sound weird and stupid, right? But kids coming into Warhammer are very fragile. Okay, let me just take a sip of tea for you first. Alright, they're extremely fragile. Why? Because normally, these kids are the ones who are picked on. These kids are the ones who, you know, are a bit nerdy, a bit on their own, you know what I mean? So that's Fragility A01 there, right? A101, right there. Number 2, they're very susceptible, especially if you're wearing Games Workshop colours. You have to realise you're a cult hero to these people, to these kids, okay? Imagine a kid meeting one of their favourite professional wrestlers, right? Or any professional wrestler that they're watching. Now imagine that professional wrestler is a bit of a dick to them, and the impact that will have on their fandom going forwards. I wouldn't put it past such kids to just get out of wrestling altogether after having that kind of experience. as a Games Workshop manager or a staffer, wearing that uniform, you have a direct responsibility to keep these kids in the hobby and to make sure that they are enjoying their time and that they look at you with reverence and you know, like almost as a father figure. It really is. It's very strange. There have been many times where people who've trained me and managers that I've known have had kids turn up to their doors. Now, this shouldn't be happening, of course. This is an extreme situation. But they've been such good father figures to them that they've shown up at their door when they've been bullied in school. They haven't gone home to their parents. They've gone to the Games Workshop manager's house. Right? Don't ask me how they found out where he lived. You know, I can't remember. But like, there's lots of times when things like that have happened. But you know what that means? Yes, things have gone a bit far because the kid is now looking at you as an actual father figure. You've got no control over that. You're just being a good guy, right? But I'd rather have that scenario and have kids look up to Games Workshop managers and staffers than have a scenario like this, where you have some sort of smooth brain neckbeard being a part of the company zeitgeist and actually turning off kids from the hobby. They're the lifeblood. That's where this hobby's going in the next 20 years. And if you keep treating people this way, we'll be lucky to get them back. Ever. Right? Because if you're like me, I'm a stubborn ass. If you're like me, if you create a bad first impression with me, your card's marked, mate. I will never think about you in the same way again. Is that harsh? Yeah. Is it unfair? Yeah. But just how I am. Like, if I meet you and you just turn me off, like you just give me the heebie-jeebies, you could be the greatest guy on earth. I'm still going to think about you as a 7 out of 10 person. I was going, yeah, okay, right. Do you know why that is? Also, because I've been proven right, man, time and again. Like, you'll meet somebody, everybody will like them, and you'll go, nah, don't really like them, and they'll go, why, man? He's so cool, he's so fun to hang out with. And you're like, nah, something just off-putting. Don't like him, you know. Just does me head in, you know. And later on, he does something really forceful and perverted with a girl that you know, or he, you know, gets a reputation for losing his shit when he's had one too many sherbets, or, you know, that kind of stuff. It always comes out in the end, and that's why I trust my own instincts. And if I go into a Games Workshop store as a kid, or even as an adult now, and I get turned off like this by the person working there, not just Games Workshop, the entire hobby is kind of like, wow, this sucks. Right? As Games Workshop staffer, you have an immense responsibility. You're wearing the brand of the hobby. You're representing what the hobby is. So if somebody comes into your store and you really turn them off and you really make them feel uncomfortable, the entire hobby turns them off and makes them feel uncomfortable. You kill the hobby. More than anybody that you call neckbeards, that you call toxic, that you call, you know, alt-right, or whatever the nonsense you're spouting this week, right? You kill the hobby more than any of those people. Directly. Because you're wearing the get-up, dude. You're wearing the logo. So if you're working for the company, listen to what I've just said and take your job seriously. Speaking of taking your job seriously, the main event is here, folks. I read half of this in a cafe yesterday, and I can't wait to read the rest of it, because this is going to be very interesting. We have a Games Workshop manager here who is writing in with his real frustrations, and he's currently working for the company. He's still in job. His real frustrations with how Games Workshop is going right now for him, and his local community too, and probably why you shouldn't play games in the store. Yeah, we're going to get into that. Let's get into it. He says, hello, Northern Exile. I want to preface this with an apology for how long this is, as I'm trying to get everything out that has happened in my time as a manager, but there is just so much to go through at this point. You can call me Chris, and I'm a Games Workshop manager, and I've been for well over a year now. I picked up the job on a whim after being already retired, and not really knowing what to do with myself. I've been a part of the hobby for about 25 years now, and Warhammer is something I truly love. I have built an extensive personal collection over the years, including 20,000 points of Imperial Guard and 25,000 points of Tomb Kings. I always have been heavily invested into the hobby, not just financially, but emotionally as well, and I thought working in a Games Workshop store would be a dream job. Being subbed to this channel especially opened my eyes to what I might expect, and I knew there were horror stories from past managers, but even so, I chose to take the job because honestly, I was bored, and who would not want to work around the hobby they love, right? Well, I have been proven wrong. The job has turned into a nightmare, and not for the reasons most people might assume. Right. So, yeah, I get listening to the channel you might not want to work Games Workshop. I'm giving you the pitfalls and the black and white, this is what it is. This is what working for them is like. And then you get to make the decision from there on in. Because working the Games Workshop in retail is a gamble. If you get a really good line manager, or a really good manager if you're a staffer, right, your job's great. You have an amazing job that sends you home tired but happy every single day. It's brilliant. Especially if you're retired or you, are only paying 50% of the rent, or you're, or you don't have kids, right? If you can't run a family off being a Games Workshop manager. You just can't. You need 2 incomes at least, because Games Workshop do not pay you very much, right? But if you're in a situation where you're doing this for pocket money, all right, or you're doing this to supplement somebody else in your relationship who already has a really high-paying job, great job to have. Great job to have. If your manager's good and your line manager's good. If those 2 things are good, great. If they're not, this job is not worth the money they're paying you. You could go work for Ann Summers or any other specialist retail store, dude, and they'd pay you more. Most likely, they'd pay you more, and you get a lot less stress because they realise you're working in retail. Not a Games Workshop. You should be paying us to work here. That's the attitude. Let's move on. There's many subheadings here, and we'll start with management. Alright. Yes, says Chris, Games Workshop management is annoying and overbearing. Some of their policies make absolutely no sense, like discouraging people from playing games in their stores, not wanting customers to hang out and hobby, or even discouraging the use of older Games Workshop products because they do not showcase the latest better ones, quote unquote. None of these make sense to me. But honestly, I get to run a store by myself. As long as I stay within certain parameters, they mostly leave me alone. And let's be real, if you're smart and keep your mouth shut, you can bend plenty of those rules to create a fun, welcoming environment for your customers. This is where the real problems began. Not with management, but with customers. Right. A lot of times when I get emails from people claiming to be Games Workshop staffers, I don't read them out. Because I get a whiff of bullshit about it, right? You know what I mean? That one paragraph there made me go, yeah, you get it. You're working there. You get it, right? It's not about just being a rebel and just breaking every rule management makes for you. It's about finding the grey areas where you can build fun within their rules. That's what being a Games Workshop manager is, right? This guy gets it. The local community. The community where I run the store is massive. There are over 6 other friendly local game stores in the area, multiple grand tournaments going on, countless Discord groups, and a ton of players. On paper, that sounds incredible for a Warhammer store. In reality, it is not. During my first week, the owner, quote-unquote, of the largest Discord in the area came in and introduced himself by saying, yeah, you need to know who I am. He carried himself like Warhammer royalty. Dude. I swear every Games Workshop manager goes through this, right? The local hard nut will come in and just chest pound for a bit for no reason. When I say hard nut, I don't mean like he's literally very tough. I mean like he's the owner of a Discord server. He organises an event here or there, right? And he'll come into your store expecting you to acquiesce to him when you're the one wearing, the Warhammer logo, right? That kind of thing. Oh my god. Oh my days. He went on to say he wanted to meet with me to discuss arrangements, quote unquote, that would benefit his group. Right. Well, if he's coming in to, like, organise events and stuff, that's not too bad. You know what I mean? Essentially, he wanted to exploit my staff discount and use the store as his personal lounge for himself and his followers. Yeah, you can go fuck yourself, mate. You know one of the only things in your contract you can get instantly sacked for as a Games Workshop manager, right, is allowing other people to take advantage of your 50% store discount. That's it. If you're caught reselling stuff you bought on discount, or you let other people buy stuff on your discount, you're instantly sacked. Instantly. It's one of the, I think it's only one of two, like, instant terminations worked into your contract. The other one has to do with children, right? So that's where we are, right? There's one of the only two things they can actually go, get out, now. No pay, no nothing, we're not paying your contract up, you're fired, you're sacked, go, right? They take it that seriously. You can solve this issue by just saying, mate, if I do that, I get sacked. So, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not putting my job on the line for somebody I don't know, so no, right? You shouldn't need to say that. You should be able to just say no, but let's see what you said. I laughed it off and told him, look, man, if you need miniatures, paint, or supplies, I'm your guy, totally. But I'm not entertaining anything like that. He scoffed and left, and I did not see him again. I foolishly thought that was the end of it. No, it isn't, mate. You know why? Because Discord people, and in general, and obviously people in... Okay, there's nothing worse in the world than nerd organisers. Right? You know who you are. You know what I mean? The nerds who organise things in their free time. Because they just think, most of them think, they're the most important person in the world, and if you don't acquiesce to one of their requests, quote-unquote, they'll create trouble for you. And they love the fact that they can create trouble for you. That's why they always do it. Because it's the only recourse they have is to be a little fucking cretin and make somebody else's job or life harder. That's the only recourse they have. They bitch, they whine, they moan. And this kind of guy is why Games Workshop looks at the community and goes, go fuck yourself. In this point, I'm on Games Workshop's side. Some of the shit people give them, it just makes me roll my eyes and go, dude. You know this channel, by the way. You know who's talking to you right now. When they pull bullshit, and I'll do this later on in the week, when they pull bullshit, I'm the first person to say, that's not good enough. That's bullshit, that's not good enough. Absolutely. But the amount of times people in Retail Games Workshop have to put up with nonsense from the community, that's not their fault, and their lives are made harder, it is no wonder their attitude to a lot of our community is, haha, what did you want? Yeah, suck my balls. Suck my balls. Alright? Get your wallet out, you little whale. And by the way, I'm putting the prices up. I'm putting the prices up. Why? I don't like you. That's why. Now get your wallet out. I can't blame them. A lot of time, I can't blame them. Like the amount of shit they have to put up with. There's a lot of people at that company who will delight in putting the prices up. They love it because they know you're going to pay for it anyway. A lot of the fans who do shit like that are detestable. You will complain about the prices and then pay it anyway. They don't respect you, they don't like you, and to be fair, you give them a lot of reason to feel that way. Let's carry on, shall we, and see where else this goes. Let's see what Mr. Discord King will end up trying to do. The boycott. You heard that right. I was quickly proven wrong. Soon he and his crew went to their Discord and other groups and demanded that everybody in the area now boycott the store. Strangely enough, people listened, and my numbers tanked for a while. I did everything I could with the tools I had to keep the store alive, but nothing was really budging with the boycott in full effect. Right, can you imagine the stress this guy is going through? He's trying to run a store, he's trying to run a business, he's trying to keep his job. And this piece of human fucking garbage is saying, dude, Some dude tried to boycott my store because I wouldn't let him play in my store with a fucking Titan. A Titan on a 4x4 square table. Right? And you wonder why we don't like you. You annoy us. You make our jobs harder. There are certain customers who come in and you know you're going to have a bad day. Because they're dicks. And you can't just kick them out. Because you don't want to do that to somebody. But you know what? The managers who lasted the longest in Games Workshop that I saw would kick you out. They'd take one look at you and go, get out. Get out. No, not putting up with it. Get out. Yeah. You know I don't play games in my store. Yeah. I play 500-point games. No, you can't use that. No, you can't use Forge World. Get out. Those guys would last. Right? Because Games Workshop will back them up. If they go to Games Workshop and they say, hey, HQ, I've just kicked out 20 people from my store. They'll go, why? Well, they all wanted to play in tournaments and they were being really pissy about it, so I just banned them all. They'd go, okay, cool. See you next Friday. See you at training. They would back them up. Every time. Right? It's the managers who try to work with you lot who get sacked. Think about that for a sec. It's the managers who try to work with you guys who get sacked. Or who have to leave through stress. What's the common denominator there? Do you know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. And by the way, when a manager tries to work with you as customers to have games in his store, he's getting it from both ends. You're stressing him out, and Games Workshop are stressing him out because they don't want games in the store. So they're going to turn the screw, right? And in the end, it becomes more trouble than it's worth because you're also giving him a pain in the neck. So he's going, why the fuck am I doing this? And so he gets rid of gaming, and then you boycott the store. The only recourse you have as a Games Workshop manager is to just not put up with it. Is to toe the company line. It's the only... If you want no stress in your job, toe the company line. Ban everything. Just get them out. Ban everything. Just go, no, I'm not playing games in the store. I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. Because the store will tank, but they won't care. Games Workshop won't care. Because you're running it the way they want you to run it. It's an Apple store now. Right? It's basically an Apple store. Anyway. Thankfully, after about 6 months of simply showing people I was not a corporate shill or a terrible guy, customers began coming back. I started running painting competitions, leagues, and creating a fun atmosphere again. For a while, it felt like things were improving. Brilliant, mate. Well done, Chris. Well done. Now let's see if he's rewarded for his behaviour by his community, shall we? Let's just see. And this is what I got up to last night. I stopped reading yesterday in the cafe because I didn't want to spoil it for myself. Let's see. We're all in the dark now. I've said what I needed to say. Let's read the rest. The big games. Soon, the boycott mentally began to die away, and I thought, awesome, on to a new chapter. Let's have fun with this store, shall we? I began running a lot of large 2,000-point games because I just wanted people to enjoy themselves. Mistake. 2,000 points is way too big for a Games Workshop store. You're going to get in trouble. Of course, this meant I needed more table space. So I set up 2 8x4 tables for people to play. Mistake. Mistake. Yeah, you're going to invite the wrong kind of people, man. Let's just see. 2,000 points is danger zone in 40k. You're inviting those guys into your store. You know who I mean. People absolutely loved this, and I really enjoyed watching the community grow into something amazing. This lasted for a few months until I learned a hard lesson. If you build it, they will come. And by they, I mean the meta chasers and the cheaters. Before long, my store was overrun with guys purposefully bringing tournament level lists and only playing brand new players, absolutely crushing them again and again. Yep, A1. It's like a nature documentary, like, A leads to B, leads to C, 2,000 point games, this is what you get. Because people have a perverse pride in going into a Games Workshop and playing like dicks. I'm willing to bet these people won't go into a normal store and play that way. But doing it at Games Workshop is like some sort of badge of honor. Naturally, this drove away a lot of the new players, no matter how much I pleaded with them, telling them this was not the normal community and just to avoid those certain opponents. Eventually, the store was filled with nothing but meta chasers. When the games got tough, the cheating started. Right, so basically, the meta chasers have come in and picked off all of the beginners, and when the beginners left, the meta chasers just play each other, and when those games got tough because they're coming up against tough opponents, people start cheating. Great. Brilliant. Some bent rules to favour themselves. Others went as far as adding in units and running 2,500 point armies in a 2,000 point game. When they got caught, arguments broke out, dice were thrown, tables were smacked, and yes, even miniatures went flying. As a result, my usually relaxing days at work turned into constant policing of games and babysitting of adults, most of whom were older than me. I started to really hate coming into work because I knew I'd probably have to kick another group out over something as ridiculous as not being able to play a board game politely. Removing... And do you know what? You know what you should do from this point on? You know what I would have done? If I could have my time at Games Workshop back again, you know what I'd have done? Owned up to it. Owned up to it. I would have called my trainer. And I would have eaten humble pie. This happened to me too. Right? I would have called my trainer. We had an amazing community there for a while. Right? And then things started to fall apart very rapidly when people... The store was dominated by guys coming in, playing tournament level lists and not really buying anything, right? That kind of a thing. And it would just squeeze everybody else out. What I would have done, I would have called my trainer and said, listen, I've made a mistake. And you know what? The trainer will go, because he'll know what you're about to say. You say, I tried to do a bit larger games in store, and I tried to, because I wanted to be nice to people, and it's not working. Right, cool. What are you going to do about it? I'm going to ban everybody and get rid of all the tables. Good, goodbye. And they'll put the phone down. Right, and that kind of a thing. And it gives you like a reset with HQ. Go, right, you were right. All right, you were right. Okay. Sorry, you were right. And go and do that instead. I would try and find a happy medium and have like really small tables. So... and it worked in the end. Like we got, I did this. It started to turn around, but I was too exhausted by the time my contract was up, so I didn't renew it again. But yeah, dude, it's just awful. Anyway, moving on. Removing the tables. After a few months of this, I finally said, screw it, and removed the gaming tables altogether. I hated doing it, but nothing else worked. I started by politely asking people to respect each other and the store. When that failed, I pulled individuals aside and told them to knock it off. But the final straw came after one incident when a 50-year-old man threatened to pull a 14-year-old kid into the parking lot and beat him up because he lost a game of toy soldiers. That was it for me. I was not going to run a store that condones that kind of behaviour, and you never mess with the kids. So, as horrible as it felt, the tables had to go. You're right, man. You're right. I would have done that and called HQ. You may get like a bollocking, but if you've got like a long-term contract, call HQ. So, listen, I've made a mistake here. I need to get rid of all my gaming tables, and I need to let you know that I'm doing that because you may get a few complaints. And they'll go, no problem. Glad you've seen the light. Carry on. You know? There's nothing they love more than being right. And there are some times when they are right. And they are in this, right? Now, let me just say this. I know what people say, well, you've said gaming should be in stores. Yes, I have. Gaming should be in stores. 2,000 point games shouldn't be in stores. Absolutely not. Right? 1,000 points at most should be in stores. You should be able to run campaigns, events. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But it should be 1,000 points at most. That way, you get rid of most of the tournament crowd. You get rid of most of the people who are going to come in there and ruin it for everybody else. Every store is beginner-centric. It's where you start the hobby. It's not your youth club. It's not your hobby club. It's the Mecca. It's where you go to start the hobby. And if you are more experienced and you go to Games Workshop, you're more than welcome to bring your 1,000 point list along. Absolutely. But you can bet your bottom dollar, as a Games Workshop manager, I'm going to vet you silently. I'm going to watch you. And if I don't find your behaviour aligns with me wanting to get beginners into the hobby, I'll ask you not to play there anymore. Simple. But if you're a veteran who wants to come in and play, nice chill games of 1,000 point narrative Warhammer 40,000, you want to have a lot of fun with it and bring more people into the hobby, dude, I can't do enough for you. I'd throw sneaky freebies your way. I'd do everything to keep you in that store. I'd give you a free White Dwarf. I'd give you a free pot of paint. I'd bend over backwards to make sure that you came back to my store. That's how you cultivate a good community. You have veterans there bringing in new guys and girls, whatever it is, into the hobby. Okay? So gaming should be allowed in the store because it's a massive recruitment tool. But that doesn't mean you should allow 2,000 point plus games on massive tables that's only going to invite the kind of people into your store that, by the way, we're not saying you shouldn't be in the hobby. Absolutely not. But you shouldn't be in Games Workshop stores. You've graduated. Imagine being like a amateur wrestler, right? And you graduate from high school and you're on the Olympic team and then you go back to high school just to beat up kids. Why? You should be in the Olympic team. That's where you are now. You know? Anyway. Reorganizing the store. After pulling the trigger on removing the tables, I reorganized the store layout. I still managed to carve out a large 8 foot by 4 foot hobby space and set up two 4 by 4 foot by 4 foot tables designed for spearhead or combat patrol games. It was not the same as running big 2,000 point battles, but it still gave people a chance to play and hobby in the store without the chaos. Brilliant. A brilliant thing to do. You smacked it out of the park, mate. Yeah, 2 4 by 4 foot tables is exactly what you need. Stunning. Brilliant decision. Of course, when customers first came in and saw the big tables were gone, many were annoyed, but most understood. They realised that in order to deal with 2,000 point meta-chasing crowd that had taken over the store, the large tables had to go. It was not a decision I wanted to make, but it was necessary if the store was going to stay a welcoming place to the majority of the players. Mate, you're a great Games Workshop manager. You found your fucking calling, mate. I swear to God, the way you handled that. The only other thing I would have done, and a lot of people are going to say, why would you talk to HQ? No, this is the only time you can talk to them, is to tell them they're right, and you're going to change things. Because, by the way, they already know. They know what's going on in their stores. They do secret shoppers all the time. They already know you're running large games in your store. I'm telling you. A new manager, the first year, they keep a very close eye on you. They already know that you're running larger games in your store. They're waiting for the phone call. They're waiting for the phone call of, you were right, I'm very sorry, I'm never going to do that again, and here's how I'm going to fix it. They'll go, thank you very much, Chris. Thank you very much. Enjoy your job, my friend. And once they've got that assurance, and they'll keep an eye on you for another couple of months, once they've got that assurance that everything's changed, they'll leave you alone. You know? That's the one thing I didn't do. I didn't bring them in. I didn't bring them onto my side. You know? Instead, I was getting it in the neck from the community about, the big games in the store, and I was getting it in the neck from Games Workshop, and I decided to say, go fuck yourself, everybody, and I left. Yeah. Like, do you want to renew your contract? No. Goodbye. And I left. But I should have just gone back to Games Workshop HQ and said, listen, man, I made a mistake. I need a reset here. And they would have gone for it. I swear to God, they would have been like, yeah, okay. Well, thank you for coming around. And moving along. Realizations. This experience really opened my eyes as to why Games Workshop themselves might not want big games going on in their stores. Large games only created opportunities for problems, and honestly, they began to ruin the store's environment. That realization was kind of wild to me, because I hated the fact that I was actually starting to agree with Games Workshop's policies. That's it, man. It feels horrible, doesn't it? Finally, somebody understands. Finally, somebody understands. Because that moment you go, oh, right. Maybe this multi-billion-dollar company does know more than me. Yes. That might be a thing. Maybe I need to call up and apologize. I had always thought those rules were ridiculous, but after living through it firsthand, I understood why they existed. I hoped that by shifting the focus towards smaller games and hobby activities, I could manage the store more effectively while still creating an environment that was fun and enjoyable for everybody. Cool. The next section's called the Hobby Crowd. Then once again, build it and they will come. Soon, people started showing up to just sit down and hobby all day. And when I say all day, I mean all day. They would be lined up outside before it even opened, and I practically had to shoo them out at closing time. Well, that's not always a bad thing if they're spending money in the store. I had one or two guys who came in and did this with me, and I kind of liked it because they were very interesting to talk to. And when they weren't in, I was like, oh. Alex, you know who you are, mate. I'm calling out by name. That guy gave me the entire rundown of the series Luther, so I never had to watch it. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That sounds cool. What happens next? Anyway. For the most part, this is harmless, yeah, as I said. And I actually enjoy it. It's great to have people showing off their hobby work, chatting, and creating a lively atmosphere in the store. It's made the days more fun, and I really do value that sense of community. But like always, it only takes a small group to ruin it. Some newcomers have joined in, and they are a bit ridiculous. They started interjecting whilst I was talking to customers, saying things like, oh, you don't want to buy that here? No, go to another store, it's so much cheaper. Yeah, that's an instant ban. That's an unapologetic ban. In any store I run, man. That's it, you're gone. The first time somebody has the balls to say that in front of me, get your stuff, go. Do you know what? If that other store's so great, fuck off. Go over there. How's that? Right? You do not denigrate my business to my customers. You don't do that. You don't mess with my meal. This store is my meal. That's how I pay that's how I pay my rent, dude. You're fucking with that. Leave. You're banned. Go. It's one of the only things. Hard line, man. Get the fuck out my store. If that other place is so wonderful, then piss off and go there. Oh, they don't want you there. That's why you're here. I wonder why. Banned. Leave. People will be like, well, isn't that a bit much? No, mate, he's fucking with your rent. He's telling other people not to buy things in your store. That's how you pay your bills. I'm sorry, no. That is not a 3-strike thing. The minute you say something like that, you're banned. Go away. I don't want you destroying my business. Private property. Get out. Or the age-old, oh, you don't want to buy Tau, they're commies. Oh my God, it's the meme crowd. It's the other side of it, it's the meme crowd, they've come in. Ugh. On top of that, people even showed up with their own tables and chairs, expecting me to allow it. Nothing had ever been said to suggest that was allowed. And nothing like that had ever been permitted in any Games Workshop store that I'd known of. It was absurd. People started to act like they owned the bloody place, and I was just their servant who was just there. Even when I told them they obviously could not be allowed to be seen doing these things, they acted personally insulted and would throw little temper tantrums, acting like I was the one being unreasonable when I was only enforcing rules Games Workshop had enforced for years. Yeah, and most of those rules, by the way, this is North talking, most of those rules are, like, unspoken because you'd have to be fucking retarded to try and do something like that. But this is the community we're dealing with, okay? This is it. When you're running a Games Workshop store, you're getting a vertical slice of the hobby. I've always said it. You're getting a vertical slice. You're getting everybody. Everybody. Not just the good and the bad, you're getting everybody. You're seeing the whole thing. You know? Nobody has as much experience in this hobby as a Games Workshop manager who's managed there for a year. If you've worked for Games Workshop in retail for a year, you know more about this hobby than a guy who's been in here for 30 years. I'm serious. Because you've seen more shit in that 1 year than he's seen in his entire 30 years. You've seen it all. You've seen him come and go. You've seen it all. You know? And this is the kind of people you get. They're bringing in lawn furniture to sit in your store. No. No. Go away. Go away. Alright? Go squat somewhere else. And the fact that they act like entitled and how dare you about that? Dude. Dude, this is what you get. Again, vertical slice. You get it all. You get it all. Anyway. They also started making ridiculous requests, like wanting to open boxes just to see what was inside with no intent to purchase. I had that all the time, yeah. Trying to take product home with an I owe you mentality instead of paying, and even demanding I use my employee discount for them because we were supposedly friends, quote unquote, even though I just met them. And this is not just one or two people. It has become constant. Happening all day with multiple people coming in. At one point, someone even answered the store phone as if they worked there. And when I confronted them, they brushed it off and said they were just helping me out. Again, dude. Again. Happens all the time. Right? Can you imagine head office calling your store and a customer picks up the phone? Sorry, Chris can't come to the phone right now. He's, over there doing something. Can I take a message? He'd be like, sorry, who is this? Oh, it's Dave the wanker. Yeah. I'm here with my lawn chair. I'm just sitting off outside. He won't let me have my lawn chair inside the store. Right? They'd be like, what kind of shit show is that guy running over there? Word spreads, my friend. It does. If somebody phones your store and a customer picks up the phone, you bet your ass they're turning to the person next to them at HQ and going, a customer just picked up the phone at that guy's store. Right? Telling you. It ain't good. And you get them all the time. No social awareness. No awareness of how their actions impact on you or the store. They can't see past their own wants and desires. And this is why we don't like you. Sorry. Like, and you know, this must hurt. A lot of you must be sitting here listening to this going, wow, North's like really, this really sucks, man. Yeah, you know how much I like this community and how much I like you. Probably personally. If you're listening to this, probably personally. I'd probably get along with you quite well. Right? But there is a reason why Games Workshop holds the community in such fucking contempt. Nobody else has to put up with this. Not video game stores, right? Even normal, friendly local game stores I've been in, they don't have stories like this. Only Games Workshop. Because people like to push the corporation without realizing the guy you're pushing is earning less than you. Let's move on. On top of that, I have had to constantly police the demo painting station, because people steal the paints non-stop. There was also the 60-year-old man who thought it was hilarious to sculpt giant penises onto his Chaos Spawn miniatures and show them off to children sitting at the table next to him. And then, as if things couldn't get even more inappropriate, one guy even pulled up hentai on his phone and sat there watching it whilst painting in the hobby space. Dude, every Games Workshop manager has those stories. You could not convince me more that this guy's actually worked for Games Workshop. Dude, I'm getting, like, flashbacks. This behaviour drives me insane because it is constant and I cannot escape it no matter what I do. No matter how much I address it, no matter how many people I ask to leave, it just keeps happening. I'm starting to realise this is the Warhammer community. This is the community I'm a part of, and it makes me sick. Wow. The breaking point. This community is destroying me. Jesus Christ. I'm starting to take a long, hard look at things and realising that a job I just took to have fun is absolutely ruining my love for the hobby. At this point, I have not touched my own miniatures in months. I have no desire to paint, to build, or to even hear the word Space Marine during my off time. The joy that Warhammer once brought me is long gone. So now, I find myself heavily considering quitting altogether. Nothing I do seems to get the community to calm down or respect the space, and I'm left wondering if staying in this role is worth sacrificing my love for the hobby altogether. Okay. Alright. And yet, I want to be clear, I actually do enjoy this job. Introducing kids to the hobby, teaching them how to play, and seeing that spark of excitement shine when somebody is just starting out is always a huge reward. Those moments remind me why I wanted to work here in the first place. It is just these daily toxic interactions that weigh me down. At this point, I had hoped that after kicking enough people out, they would stop coming, but instead, more and more keep showing up only to continue the same behaviour. This whole experience has opened up my eyes to just how toxic parts of the community can be and how quickly situations can spiral out of control. I know a lot of this is rambling, but after listening to your channel for a while, I figured I would throw out my own experience into the ring and see what you have to say about it. Best wishes, Chris. Thank you very much, Chris, for one of the best emails I've ever gotten. Seriously, beautifully written and encapsulates so many things. It was so interesting to listen to. It really was. It's time to go nuclear, my friend. Okay? It's time to go nuclear. I would write a set of commandments. Okay? Don't literally call them that. Don't be a douche, right? I would write a set of standards in the store, right? Have them plain to see behind the counter. Don't put them up front and centre. We don't want normal customers and their kids coming in and seeing it. But behind the counter, put it up so people can see it, right? And standards. Your standards should be cleanliness. You need to smell nice or at least not stink, right? And shower and dress properly to come into my store. Simple as. If you come in looking like a tramp, word it better than this. If you come in looking like a tramp, I will refuse your service and ask you to leave. I'm a retail business. At the end of the day, right? Number 2, attitude. This is a place where children are present. You either respect the hobby and the people around you, and you try and help me bring in new customers and new people into the hobby, recruit, or you don't come here at all. If you're exhibiting behaviours that are antithetical to recruiting people into the hobby, I will ask you to leave. Alright? Those are the 2 major ones. Alright? Number 3, can't stress this enough. This is a noob-friendly zone. This is a recruitment centre for the hobby. If you're not comfortable with that, you shouldn't be here. Number 4, you need to book time onto my painting spaces. Don't let them just come in and sit there all day. You need to book time. 3-hour slots. You're allowed to be here for 3 hours. And once you're being here for 3 hours, your painting today at the store is done. You need to leave. Even if nobody else is taking up that space, it doesn't matter. You get 1 3-hour slot a day. You get to come in for 3 hours and paint your models. Then you leave. Every other store does it, dude. Do it. You get 1 3-hour painting slot and 1 3-hour gaming slot a day. You need to book it. Book it in with me. That still means the guy can spend 6 hours in your store. But he's not spending 6 hours just sitting there talking to other customers and generally turning them off. He's either painting his models in those 3 hours. By the way, if you've given him a finite time to paint his models, you know what he's going to do? Paint his fucking models. He's going to sit there and go, I've only got 3 hours. Paint. Yeah, I can't talk right now. I'm painting. Yeah, I can't talk right now. Yeah, I can't watch hentai right now. I'm painting. Right? Then his 3 hours is up and he goes. Or he goes, do you know what? I fancy a game. I'll go play a game. Once his game's finished in 3 hours, he leaves. He's been there for 6 hours. But he's made productive use of his time. Right? What you've got right now is a glorified youth club with no rules. Those are the 3 changes I'd make if I was you. Alright? Have very clear standards and very clear time slots of when things are allowed to happen. Establish more of a control over your space. Give that a go for 6 months. If nothing's changed in 6 months, call it a lost cause and quit because it's not worth you being there and ruining your own hobby. But give it 6 months. I swear that will work. It will work, man. I know, because I've seen it work. I've seen other managers do it, right? Right? The only thing that tempted me to stay was when I saw it working in my store. It was turning around. It was working well. We were getting a good community going. But I was still getting it in the neck from head office, so I just didn't want to do it anymore and I left. Right? You're not getting it in the neck from head office just yet. So, make hay while the sun is shining. Make these changes now and see where you are in 6 months. That's my advice. Alright? Again, these are the epiphanies that Games Workshop managers have. Right? They start to dislike you. I did an entire video on it. They start to actively dislike the community and the people in it. Even the innocent ones. You start to automatically assume that anybody coming in who isn't a kid or a parent is going to be trouble. And that's not fair. Because the vast majority of people in this hobby are fucking legends, mate. Absolute legends. You can sit there, talk about the Emperor with them, talk about how cool 40k is with them, or just life in general, right? They're good dudes who are good to know. But it's poison for us because we get that vertical slice. Do you know what I'm saying? It's poison for us Games Workshop managers because we always seem to get the cretins coming in who want to make a point about winding up the corporation. But you're not winding up a corporation. You're being an arsehole to a guy who 9 times out of 10 doesn't deserve it. They're working so hard in a Games Workshop store, man. They work so hard. They don't deserve it. Alright? So next time you see a Games Workshop manager who's been nice to you, don't touch them, but give them a mental clap on the back. Say, hey man, I appreciate what you're doing. Is there anything I can get? Like, do you have a white dwarf or something? I just want to, even if I don't want to get a model, I want to reward you for, you know, putting up with us. Do you know what? That'll make his day. Literally, he will fly back to the train home. He'll be like, wow, that was so cool. That's why I do this job, right? I'm serious. Bit of kindness will go a long way. Don't get me wrong, there are bad hobby managers, there are bad Games Workshop managers. We've covered them on the channel before. But I swear a lot of these bad Games Workshop managers are bad because they're driven to bad. This guy, Chris, he's on the cusp. He's on the cusp of becoming a hobby nightmare. Do you know what I mean? He's on the cusp of some new guy joining the hobby, finding Chris in 3 months' time, when he's already burnt out and going, wow, I have a nightmare of a hobby manager to write into North about. That's where we are. Okay? So there are 2 different sides to every single hobby nightmare. Always remember that. I love you all a long time. I will speak to you tomorrow for some more 40k rantage where we're going to be discussing Games Workshop's coming price increases. I'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye now.